Hey guys, today we are going to make what they call an umbrella rig. We're going to make one that's a little bit larger than this one. This is a small one that they use for bass fishing or maybe crappie fishing, but ours is going to be used for stripers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're also going to show you how we make this head. And this is an idea that I got from my son Seth, and let me walk you through this. So the first thing that we've got here is we went and we bought some stainless steel wire, and the stainless steel wire is just TIG wire, and this is 0.045 inch stainless steel wire that we don't get in the shadow. This is 0.045 inch stainless steel TIG wire, and the reason we're using TIG wire is because it's really springy. You want something with some spring to do this. Now, stainless steel is what we're going to use because Texoma is a pretty salty lake. But what we're going to do first is we need 5 liters, and we're going to, instead of, some people just make a loop and tie a swivel on the, or put a swivel on the end. As you can see, that's what they did on this one. We're going to do something a little bit different. You can add a swivel if you want, but we're going to make a loop so that we can quickly change our lures out if we decide to try something different, a different color. So what you do first is you take your little needle nose pliers, and you're going to go down about 1/4 inch, and you're going to bend a small loop in that wire like that. Okay? Then you're going to go down twice as far, another 1/4 inch below that, and you're going to make about a 20-degree bend like that. Okay, can you see that? Make like a 20-degree bend. Now you've got a distance from the end here to the start of your bend. Go down your wire that distance again, and I want you to bend it over like that, but we're not going to bend it completely closed. All right. Now, this is why you really want springy wire. You're going to take this loop, you're going to grab this loop here, and you're going to bend it up like that. Now, all we've done is we've created a latch so that now our lure can ride on our leader material, and it will not come off, but we can quickly change that off if we want to put something else on. Okay, close that one, and if you can see here, we've got 5 of these. We've got, just like this one, we're going to have 4 legs and 1 center shaft. All right, now in order to do this, what we need to do is we're going to have to cut 4 of these 9 inches long, and we're going to cut one of them 14 inches long. Okay, now it seems awful big because, as you can tell, these aren't but about 4.5 inches long, but we're fishing for stripers and we're not fishing for crappie and bass, and so we're going to have something a little bit more substantial than this. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire nippers, and the one with the biggest head on it, I'm going to make it the 14-inch one. I'm going to lay it out there, and I'm going to cut the 14. I'm gonna lay that wire over here for the next one. Guys, a whole tube of this wire that you see here is $10. So you can make these things. If you go buy one of these things in the store, you're gonna spend a lot of money. Now, we've got our 14-inch. We're gonna go in, we're gonna make the other ones. We're gonna make those. Let's just make them 10 inches. Okay? 10 inches. Nope. If I can cut them. That TIG wire is stiff stuff. After you get one, just measure it out here. 2. The better, the closer, as close as you can get them, you want them to be balanced when you're pulling them down through the lake. One more. if I can get this one cut. That TIG wire is very strong. And I don't know where that one went. There
with the chair.
Okay. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different. I know that a lot of people will just put some JB weld on the end of these things. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put them all together. We're going to line up the ends. We're going to put all 4 of them together. Make them even. Okay, so you got them all 4 together. And we're going to, actually before we do that, let's do something different. I want to show you something. Have you ever been out bass fishing, throwed your lure up on the rock? Well, if you throw your lure up on the rock, don't just throw these away. These are excellent for making a head for your Alabama rig, okay? It's okay if there's a hook in it. There's a spinner blade on this one. This was a topwater lure. It was hollow. As you can see inside, it's got a rattle. It's got some areas in there to where it'll you can hook your wire over. So what we're going to do on each one of these wires is we are going to take our little needle nose pliers. We're going to make a little bitty bend on every one of these. And on this middle one, we're going to make a pretty good size bend on the long one, about 1/4 inch. But each one of them are going to get a small little bend. Now, we've got our bends. Now, what are the bends for? We're going to put them all together. They're going to all sit flat, okay? Those bends, when they're inside your lure, you make sure this big one hooks over something inside there, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill that with JB weld, okay? But we want to hold all these together. So what we've got is we've got a couple zip ties. These zip ties are not going to stay on here, but these zip ties are just to hold our work together while we're working on it, okay? Pull them tight, and I'd put a couple of them on there. We'll trim the ends off here in a second. Take and cut your ends off. Now, that is what we want. We want these little ears sticking out, but we want one, the long one, to where we can hook it over, down and over the plastic that's in there. That way, when we fill that with JB Weld, it holds them all in and they cannot pull out, okay? It's okay to use the connector that's on the lure to begin with. That lure will hold a striper, no problem. That connector will, okay. Okay guys, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix up some JB Weld. This stuff doesn't adhere to plastic, but it sets up really hard. And what we can do is, why you don't want to throw your lures away, as long as your lures have pieces inside of them, you can cram that JB Weld down inside there and it won't come out because it won't come past the plastic. And that's what we're going to do here. Now, I don't want to get JB Weld on my lures paint finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue tape. I recommend blue tape so that it won't pull the finish off your lure. All right. All you're going to do is you're just going to cover up the paint and your lure a little bit, just like that, okay? Now, take your JB Weld. Now this stuff, once you use it, it'll knead together. It'll knead together, and when you want to use gloves when you use this stuff. Let me put some rubber gloves on. So when you use JB Weld, guys, you want to make sure you wear some gloves. The stuff just gets all over you because you have to work it and knead it together so that it'll work. So what we're going to do is we're going to think, okay, how much JB Weld are we going to need? I'm going to try first. I'm going to start with half of this stick because I'm going to have to cram it full and down in here and hold that in. So it's going to take quite a bit. So I'm about out of JB Weld. I'm just going to take my knife. Once you do that, put your little end back on. Put it back in the tube. This stuff stinks. And put your cap on it so it won't dry out. Now this little piece of JB Weld here, you want to take the plastic off. And it comes in 2 colors. And you're going to start working it. Work it, work it, work it. Now this is part of the reason why you put the blue tape on here is you don't want this JB Weld to mess up the paint finish on your broken lure that you're gonna repurpose. So we want to mix it. This is called kneading it together. Once it gets to a consistent color, you have just a few minutes and this thing will set up. What we're going to do is we're going to cram this down in this hole around these wires, and then Seth is wanting to go to a basketball game, and I'm going to take him to a basketball game, and when I come back, it'll be ready to go. Isn't that right, Seth?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so first things first, I'm going to stick this in here. I don't know that that's going to be enough, and it doesn't weigh that much, but it also works as a good weight for your lure. Take a little bit, cram it down in there, and you can take something and just work it down in there. You just want to cram it down into the lure. Okay, take the lure, the wires that you have, make sure the long one is going to point down, and you want to make sure it hooks behind that piece of plastic. Then you want to take the rest of this and you want to cram it down as far and as much as you can get down in that lure body. All right, we're going to just cram it and cram it and cram it down in there. Now we want our wires to come off that head as straight as we can. Okay. This stuff sits up in a few minutes. So what we're going to do, we want to shape it as good as we can. It's okay that it's sitting there. But you want it to come off the lure body in the middle as much as possible, okay? Just going to make it swim that much better. What you can do is you can take your knife and you can smooth it out, push it down all the way around. This stuff, when it sets up, it gets as hard as a rock. Now, it looks like it's good to go. We are going to just leave this. We're going to leave this and we are going to let that set up. And then after a while, we'll come back, and you can always, once JB Weld is set up, you can grind it down and shape it with a grinder if you need to. But we're going to let that set up, and we will take our gloves off, take Seth to the basketball game.
2 hours later.
Okay, so we've let our JB Weld set for a while. We've got our four legs. Our 5 legs in the JB Weld, and it's set up. What we're going to do is we're going to take the tape off. Now, JB Weld is really a strong material. You can actually grind it if you need to. It is up to you if you want to grind it, or if you want. Oh, if you want to, in other words, you might want to grind it a little bit, clean some of this up, knock some of this off and clean it up. It sits up pretty quick. It burned. I'm glad it's under the tape.
Let's get your knife.
Yeah, I just don't want to tear up my lure. That's why you put the tape on there. And then you can always grind it after it's all said and done. Clean that up. Okay, so I know that's not the prettiest thing. See if I can get this out from under there. Once it's set up, it's really hard.
That should be good enough.
All right. Now what you can do too is you can actually, if you want to, paint the back side. Some people do. You can use JB Weld to mold a head if you don't have an old lure that you have sitting around that's been broke. Some people do that, but I wanted to repurpose this old lure. That's not the prettiest thing, so I'll probably take a file and grind on that a little bit. But so I've got my lure. It's in there. It will not come out. So this is ready to go. I'm going to take off my little clips. Take off my zip ties. Those were there just to hold it together as I was working on it. And then what I'm going to do, now I've let this sit for about a couple hours. I'm going to come down probably about a ½ inch. And I'm going to bend it out like this, okay? I'm going to take another one. I'm going to bend each one of them out. Separate them out. I've got this one tangled a little bit. This long one's going to stay behind it's going to end up staying straight. Do the same thing with this one. Bend that one out. Right up here. Bend this one out. And come right here. Bend that one out. And it doesn't matter if they're all, but now you have your umbrella rig. Okay? And you can see how they are. Now, so you can put a Roadrunner on here with a blade. You can do several different things. What I'm going to do is on my clips, I've got some of these spinner baits. They got a treble hook on them. Now in some states you can only have a certain number of hooks on these things. So I'm going to take this one, I'm just going to put it on here. These are 3/8. These are 3/8 inch Ozark Trail. I'm sorry, this is a quarter ounce Ozark Trail inline spinnerbait. I'm gonna use the 3/8 ones. The 3/8 ones. These were 96 cents at Walmart. So you can pick them up really inexpensively. And I'm gonna put one on each one of my legs. Now, remember, this is going to be a pretty heavy lure, but we're not fishing for bass, we're fishing for striper. And so we want this thing to get down there and fall and be down about, it may have to fall 30 or 40 feet. These treble hooks, they will grab a hold of everything. Go ahead and open this one. This is why it's so good to have these little clips that you make on the end of your on the end of your wire. Put one on each one. I was talking to my brother earlier, and he says when you get this much weight on there, it seems to be pretty heavy. And he said, and that's true. Even if you use one of these, he'll use a 1/16 ounce weight, lure that weighs 1/16 ounce on each one of these, and then that overall makes it about a half ounce weight. This one, a lot of striper lures will be 1.5, 2 ounces total. So I'm okay if these things, because my whole goal is I may troll with it, and now I'm gonna put one more right here on the end. Guys, you can put spinner baits, you can put road runners, you can put all kinds of different colors on here. But this one right here will be ready to go next time we go to Lake Texoma. There they go. Now that is my umbrella rig, and it's pretty good size, but it's for striper. And all I did was I repurposed an old topwater lure that we threw on the rock and we broke it. We ran the wire in there and we filled it with JB Weld, and now we can use that and troll behind the boat with that. And there you go, there's your umbrella rig. Guys, I hope this helped. In the future, this is something you can do. If you break a lure, don't throw it away. Use it in another way.